Okay. The second photo of Exhibit A4, I think you identified that as
Which one?
the second one.
I mixed all the orders.
Oh.
This is number 2 is the heater
The heater.
itself, the 3 stacks.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, the first photo that you just showed us, that's the regulator, right?
Yes.
Is that what's currently now underground at the
No.
existing location? No. It's different equipment completely?
Yes, I showed, that was the frozen,
But I
Oh,
understand that, but I also
but
know
that-
you told me the equipment is underground, so I don't know what's under the ground.
it will be just the devices in the vault itself. There's no other equipment. The heater itself cannot be underground.
All I see is-
The
Well,
other,
there's no heater there.
the other regulators
I know
cannot be
there's no heater
underground.
there.
Yes. But the other, this is the equipment that's there. That represents the entirety of the equipment that's at the Vonnet site.
I'm just trying, we're both trying to look at the same thing. What we see here is a hunk of ice. So I don't know, like, which one of these, what this piece.
It's not that at all. It's a different, again, remember, this is a different application. That Vonnet site is not this site. It's a secondary site. It's now a primary site because of the pressure drop that causes us to need additional equipment at the location. So that's why, maybe I'm not articulating it correctly, but it's difficult to compare apples to oranges, and that's what we're doing.
We're getting it eventually, just, we're not engineers, so we don't
No,
know what this
I just need to be more clear with that.
Nope.
That's a
I
different
got it now.
type of device.
Okay.
And Ms. Avron, I hear you.
Eventually.
Yeah.
No, it's not that at all. It's,
Mr. Sanders, we're getting 3 separate pictures, right? This is part of this is going to be part of this, and this is going to be part of this. Is there any place now that you could take a picture to show me the whole thing all in one spot?
If I could, I would have, because I know how difficult this is. You're caught between a rock and a hard place, because again, if I bring another location in, it might not have the same magnitude in terms of scope and size. So the answer to your question is that we don't have a location that has this exact configuration, and so that's why I chose these different components, is to kind of show a run that would be a similar compact run with a heater. The heater itself, we do have applications that have a heater like this, but the regulator runs may be different. So it's always this piecemeal item, and we don't want to frustrate the board. I know it is frustrating to show 3 pictures because it hints at something else.
This is unique. Each one of these is basically a unique station.
This configuration is unique in terms of the arrangement that it has here. We also have other stations that are similar, but it may have less flow.
But it still has to have all of the same.
Yeah, like I don't want to bring you a picture of a station
We're not
that.
getting a different heater than this.
That
No,
is-
we're going to get to that. That is the heater. That's the heater.
That's the heater.
Yes,
All right.
and so to find a
Is there any way
location.
we could go look at this setup where this is or something? I mean,
we.
I don't want to testify for you, but I think what Mr. Sanders is saying is that we're trying to be as accurate as we can with the equipment that we show you, because in another hearing that we're not going to talk about, that was an issue. So we're trying to be as close as we can get to the equipment that's going to be part of this station. I think what might help you, Mr. Nemcic, is when we get to our engineer, if we get to our engineer and go over the site plan, then it can give you an idea of orientation. We chose to go this way primarily because of a hearing on another matter where the board had suggested it was more helpful to learn about what are we talking about first, and then show you, well, what's it gonna look like on a site? So, but in terms of these photos, it was really an effort to be as close to accurate as we could be. So the first photo is of a similar setup, because this is the best we could do to show you the regulator runs that are similar and a sound wall that we're proposing that's similar. the second photo that, Craig, I'm going to ask you to talk about is, this photo is the photo of the actual heater. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And do you know when this photo was taken?
This one's, I do know where this one was.
So do I.
For the record.
This was 2016, June 21st.
When was it?
June 21st, 2016.
And this is how the heater, I mean, this will be the heater that will be installed.
This is the exact heater that was purchased for this.
Is this first site yet have a heater?
Yes.
Okay.
And why didn't I show that heater? Because it's a different type heater,
Okay.
and we got questions the last time about that's not what we have here. And so I know it's frustrating, and I apologize for that, but there's a water bath heater there, which is a different animal, it's a different type heater, and so the questions would be, is this the same or not? And it's just difficult to capture a station with a sound wall and a CWT heater and control valves in the same arrangement. So bear with me.
I'm looking at this picture, and I'm trying to
Which
I'm looking at
picture?
the picture with the heater, the 3 stacks. And what I'm going to ask a silly question. It would have been nice if there was a person standing next to it, something that we can get an idea of what the scale is. And is this something to what Bill had just said? Can we go see this? Is this some yard or something? It looks like a field that's sitting there. It's not installed, right? Is this something we could actually go see? And get an idea of how big this is?
Let me first have Mr. Antilli tell you exactly the size of it. I could tell you it myself, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not an expert witness. And we'll start from there. As to whether you can go see the heater itself, I'd have to ask internally about that, if there's other issues involving
In
that.
other words, if you went there and you stood next to it, now I know what you look like.
I hear what you're
Yeah,
saying.
size.
I think when you hear what the dimensions are, it's going to be, it's going to be pretty easy to understand. There wasn't, again, we tried to take a picture that would accurately show you what we're talking about, but I get what you're saying in terms of scale.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask Mr. Antilli, my site engineer, when he comes up to describe the equipment in detail. Is that
Or those fences?
15? They're 15 feet, but
Why don't we just let him
Yeah.
tell us that right now?
okay. You've
That
heard.
part. Let's just, Mr. Antilli, can you tell us the dimensions of this, please?
The heater is 30 feet long by 8 feet wide by 8 foot high. And there's 3 vents
We
that
can't, we
reach
have to use the
15
mic,
feet.
please.
tall.
to go for the mic, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, the
By
vents
the way, I
are,
haven't qualified him as an expert yet,
That's
but,
fine.
okay.
the vents are 15 foot high.
Just let it, I'm sorry.
Okay, the heater is 30 feet long by 8 feet wide by 8 feet high. And it includes 3 vents, which are a maximum height of 15 feet from.
We still can't hear you. Can't hear you.
That's not right.
It's on. Okay.
So just to clarify, Mr. Antilli, when you say that the heater is 8 feet high, you're talking about, when we're looking at this photo here,
Yes.
the second photo, A4, you're talking about the body of the heater. So the body of the heater is 8 feet high,
Right.
pardon me, is that right?
Yes.
And then the 3 vents that reach above the body of the heater are 15 feet high, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, just for further clarification, the body is the green part, plus there's 3 boxes above the green, or that long tube is above the boxes?
Well, the 8 feet in height would reach to the top of the tube.
The top of the tube?
Right. And that, scale-wise, that makes sense if you look at the picture as best as you can, with the vents being 50 feet, almost twice as big. So, 8 feet to the top of the body of the heater, and then 15 to the 3 vents.
Third picture, we are looking at, I believe you identified earlier, Mr. Sanders, as a filter. Do you?
This is a filter, this is a, is at Silum Road, which is Millstone area.
Do you know when or about this photo was taken?
This is again another photo that's a couple of years old.
Was it taken at your direction by
Yes.
one of your maintenance guys? Does it accurately depict the current status of that particular piece of equipment out there
Yes,
today?
that's correct. This is the exact configuration that's there now. The top dimension of this piping is about 7 feet. The heater, the filter itself is closer to 5 foot high.
And this is similar to what we're proposing in the subject station, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
The fence in the background, is that a 6-foot fence or an 8-foot fence?
That's an 8-foot fence. So perspective.
So, Mr. Sanders, do all three of these pieces go together, right on top of each other when it's put into one?
Yeah, we'll talk about the arrangement, but in terms of sequence, you'd have your inlet piping through your filter. Your filter would feed your heater, which would be next in line, preheat the gas, and then you would go through your metering runs, the regulator runs, and then you would exit the facility.
Does the board have any other questions? I'm about to close the testimony of Mr. Sanders. Do you have any other questions?
Anyone? Is it possible to provide the board with the full map of this area that has the improved and I guess upgraded lines, and identify where those other regulator systems are, so we have an idea of distance and relative to each other for the entire system?
Is that something we can do relatively? Is that something we can do, first of all, Mr. Sanders?
To show our entire system.
Well, I think that, I guess what I'm understanding, and it's, I'm really struggling to make sure I understand what your, what the claims are. You showed this and not anywhere south, because this is what the system is. And there's 3 regulators within it that are similar to what's being proposed. And I guess I want to understand that system that we're talking about and the range of the regulators that the other 2 that exist, and why this one is being proposed here. And I can't do that unless I see the whole thing. That's why I'm asking.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Sanders. Would any larger scale show, would it show Homedale, or would it be outside of Homedale in order to accommodate?
It would be outside of Homedale, but I'm just trying to understand the
I am
fact that
too.
if we show you a larger view, it doesn't give you a sense of design. It may show you spatial relationships, but if that's the question you're asking,
I
should
think
we show our entire system? It gets, it goes into Coltsneck, it goes into Lincroft, it goes into Middletown.
Well, I guess some of the questions that would come up, I mean, I'm coming into this new, I was not here for the last meeting, is, maybe it does go into another place. Why is it specifically here? If it's that big, what were the choices? What was the flexibility? There's redundancy in the system. Some of those the other Lincroft maybe, or Coltsneck probably is somewhat overlaps into this area here. I just wanted to get a sense of why and what your limitations were. Obviously, you testified that there's lots of different factors, but there has to be a point where there's a range that's being looked at, and that I didn't hear that discussed, and I can't tell from a limited, incomplete, map.
But from a design standpoint, that's a different animal.
Mike?
I'm sorry. seems that your question is similar to what was asked before about the entire design process. And so what we're looking at here is in terms of the proximity to this project and the upgrade. The entire design process is completely and utterly much more detailed than that. How we plan, how we go through our planning process, how we do our flow studies, our analyses, it can't be captured in a photo. So showing a larger system doesn't implicate what happens where is really the question. Like, we can show you a larger photo, but I'm not sure it gets to the point of what you're asking is that, how did you choose this location and not, this location down here? Or can we just increase the size of the, those are the scenarios that we go through in our engineering and planning department in conjunction with our marketing department. So that's a more complex process. So the picture itself may not do justice to what your question was really after. I don't know if that really answers the question.
Can I, because Marianne, I recognize this is a lot of information, but can I just ask Craig some questions and maybe to clarify it a little more, because recognizing that some people here may have heard some of this before.
I had a copy of, I wanted to really get through Mr. Sanders.
Okay.
Before we stopped, but I have to take a very fast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So, for the chair needs a personal minute. So, just 2 minutes, I'm just gonna take a 2-minute break. And then, so, we normally stop testimony at 9 when we start at 7. I'm gonna go to 10.
Okay.
So I would like to try to get through Mr. Sanders and get to your second witness. I was a little optimistic I didn't do all 4 of your witnesses tonight.
Well, maybe it was.
So I'd like to still try to accomplish that, and then I'll save some time at the end for some questions, so a limited amount of time, and then we'll obviously have to adjourn to the 26th.
Okay, before you take your very needed break, can I just make a suggestion, Marianne? So that we can move on to another witness, can we, because this is...
I think you answered my question. You
Okay.
answered my question. I understand now why you've shown what we're showing.
Okay. Because we're going to try and do our best and move through very quickly on our next 1 or even 2 witnesses within an hour.
Okay, well, you're not going to have an hour, so...
Oh, within 35 minutes.
Okay. Okay, 2-minute break.
Right.